For me right now, I can't actually see the ocean, but for people like Adrian and the rest of our team that are on top of the Margaritaville, that is definitely something that they might be able to see. So fingers crossed we have a visual on the booster coming back down. That'd be a really, really cool thing to see, and something we're hoping to see.
And there are a couple of other massive contributions we've gotten, such as this $250 tip from Joa. That's from tips.nasaspaceflight.com, a bit more of a more direct way to help out the channel. So thank you so much. $250 is a massive amount to be contributing. Seriously, thank you so much for that. It goes such a long way to help fund what we do. And it just means that more and more epic spaceflight content can come out of the team. Yeah, thank you so much for that. That is a really, really, really kind contribution there. It helps so much. Yeah.
And Jerwa contributes like that on a regular basis. So thank you so much, Jerwa. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much. And Sanity Bites with 150 Great British pounds. Saying hello from Yorkshire, let's light this candle. Thank you very much for that as well. That's another huge contribution. Thank you so much for that. That is absolutely incredible. Thank you so much. I can't really say anything else, and I know I sound a bit like a broken record, but it really helps so much to keep things operating here. And it's
we have frost on Starship.
There we go. You can see it building up now.
Yep.
From the bottom. Look at that. It's getting frosty, everybody.
Okay, we are about 90 minutes away from liftoff. From here on out. So what we will now
90 minutes now, exactly.
Yep, we will now see the rings rising, the tanks getting filled, and then, then it's go time. Suddenly it's there.
Wow, suddenly we're here. Wow, there's frost forming on the boot. There's propellants in both tanks. We're in 90 minutes, less than 90 minutes away. Hopefully.
Can you believe it?
This is surreal. This is absolutely wild. I cannot believe we've finally gotten to this day. Oh my gosh. Let's hope everything goes smoothly and we can progress through the count without any issues. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry, it's not the most eloquent commentary, but holy cow, this is actually happening. This feels real.
I feel like that's something that will happen over the next 90 minutes. You will slowly, we will also get excited more and more, so you will see us and hear us slowly making less and less coherent statements, it seems like.
And now we're going to go to Jack so he can just scream maniacally into the microphone. Ah!
To be honest, at liftoff, I think that is the most appropriate commentary that we can have. Just absolute mayhem. It's just going to be absolutely incredible. I think every single person here is going to be absolutely yelling their hearts out to see this thing finally depart the pad for a orbital-ish trajectory. And Ian is confirming in the back channel that the WB-57 is nearly overhead Boca Chica. It looks as if...
I think I can see it. Is that the WB-57? There we go, we can see it.
I don't want to try and put anyone on the spot here, but if we could get a camera angle of that, would be great. But of course not, I don't want to put anyone on the spot, but we are confirming that the WB-57 is nearly arrived.
I see the contrail. I see it.
There you go. And we have two visual confirmations that it is here. So yet another point towards the countdown still continuing. And this could actually happen. Like, this could actually happen. It feels weird to say that, but it could actually happen. Yeah, we've got a few more questions in here. If you have a question, put it in chat, tag us at NASA Spaceflight, we'll do our best to answer. And yeah, so I'm going to try and get to as many of these questions as possible before we hit the final stages of count, where all of our attention will be focused on the first the end of fueling, then the ignition, and then fingers crossed liftoff of Booster 7 and Ship 24. That coming up in just under 90 minutes time, as the current schedule suggests. So this question here from Casey Fulton is asking, what is the loud aircraft engine-like noises we can hear over the stream? So Adrian, what are the noises we can currently hear from the launch site?
This is literally the tank farm that you can hear how it is basically spooling up. You have liquids flying through all kinds of vents, all kinds of little sounds, how like pipes are being used. It's literally the tank farm doing a flow to push all of these needed propellants into the vehicle. That's what you're hearing right now. It's producing all kinds of sounds that are all leading up to propellants reaching the vehicle.
And we've got another contribution here from Obsidian. Saying, Godspeed B7 S24, thanks for the excellent coverage and elegant commentary. Thanks very much for that, Obsidian, alongside a $100 tip over on tips.nasaspaceflight.com. Thank you again so much for that. These big contributions that we're getting, it's incredible to see, and we are so grateful for it. Honestly, it is just incredible to see, and I know I say that every time, but it's the truth. It's just we're so grateful for all of the support that we're getting from everybody who's contributing financially, everybody who's just watching the stream, everybody who's commenting and everything along those lines. It's just, we're so thankful, and it's great to see so many other people sharing this fantastic hobby. In an interest for aerospace in this way. I mean, we're literally, Jack, we're about to see the world's most powerful rocket lift off from a launch site that didn't exist 4 years ago. Like, that's just bonkers to think about.
Largest, most powerful ever created, and I like to repeatedly point out, forgive me, it's the most powerful that will be created in the foreseeable future. Literally nobody is attempting to create a rocket this big. Not even close. And you know, that's a big deal. This will be, for the majority of our lifetimes, most likely, the largest rocket that exists by far. And it will hopefully enable some amazing things to happen. And like you said, Ryan, this launch site didn't exist a couple years ago. I mean,
Yeah.
it's absolutely wild. That I know we all say like it's finally happening. We've been waiting for this to happen for so long, etc. But in the grand scheme of things, especially in the aerospace grand scheme of things, this has been an extremely.
I'm
Jack,
sorry,
sorry
I
to
have-
interrupt
yeah.
you. Yeah, there's the methane fuel fostering, which is now starting to appear. So we have confirmation that methane is starting to be loaded into the booster because we can literally see the cryogenic propellants inside forming ice around the outside of the booster. So yeah, that is confirmation. We have now LOX and methane both being loaded into the vehicle, and you can also see reflecting off the right of the booster there every couple of seconds the beacons that are flashing as the sunlight increases and it gets brighter down in South Texas. That will eventually become they'll be turned off so you can't see them. So yeah, just in case anyone was wondering why the booster was flashing, it's because of the beacons in the launch tower. I know a few days ago we got some questions about light
Tower
reflections
vent.
and such.
Tower vent. We got the tower vent. That is the equivalent of the mount vent that we were talking about earlier. That means they are chilling down the lines for the ship and getting ready to load propellant into the ship itself. Is that correct, Adrian?
Let me. Basically, this will go on and off. If it's on, they. Not loading right now. If it's, it will go on. And off again. It's a very good sign. It very much lines up with the propellant loading. This yeah, T minus. $122. This is start of ship loading right now.
Excellent.
They are
Adrian, I'm going to throw this one to you quickly. Now we were talking about the frost and the ice. What is the estimated weight of the ice formed on Starship during fueling, and how does this affect the launch?
I don't know the exact kilograms or tons of ice that are on Starship. I have to admit that. However, most of it will fall down as soon as the engines ignite. So it will basically have A, not that much of an effect, and B, it's very much calculated. So yeah, I don't the exact like kilograms or tons amount. I'm sorry.
And we also have a question here from Astro Turtle. This is from a little while ago, whilst the pipe kind of conditioning was still going on, Jack. But why does SpaceX actually have to cool down the plumbing in stage 0 before they can start loading the fuel?
Yeah, so the deal with that is the fuel, both the fuel and the oxidizer, the methane and the oxygen, are extremely cold liquids, I guess, is the right word. They're cryogenic liquids. And if you think about it, when you are going to flow that cryogenic liquid through a pipe, you don't want that pipe to be warm or hot, because if it is, you're going to essentially start to boil some of that propellant, and that can cause issues with, you know, I'm sure there's a variety of issues.
Sorry to interrupt you, Jack, but Mission Control is confirming that the liquid oxygen load has started on the ship, so that means that the liquid oxygen tank should start to be getting frosty on the ship as well in the next few minutes here. So we should also be keeping an eye on pretty much the full stack now. So the full stack should be starting to get frosty with methane on the booster, liquid oxygen on the booster, and ship.
Excellent.
Sorry, Jack, if you want to continue.
No, don't be sorry. But anytime there is a development with this vehicle and there's a flow going on or some sort of change in what's happening, please interrupt me. No one cares what I'm saying. We all want to know what's going on with the vehicle. No worries at all. But yeah, basically you don't want to flow really cold liquid through a warm pipe. It causes issues with the liquid. It heats it up. You are taking a lot of time and energy to condition that liquid into a state that the vehicle and the engines are going to expect. It's going to be the right temperature and all of that. So if you flow it through warm pipes, that's going to change the situation and, you know, change the nature of the fluids that you're flowing into the vehicle. Could heat it up maybe even beyond the limit that you want it to be at. So you're going to chill those pipes down, and once they're chilled down, then when you flow the cryogenic propellants through them, you're not going to get that change in temperature. You're not going to get any sort of issues with boil off or what have you. Hopefully that's a succinct enough answer there.
Thanks very much, Jack. And a question here from Veer, which I believe is a little bit busy right now on top of the Margaritaville getting all set up and stuff, so I'll throw this one to you again, Jack.
Sure.
Is the next Starship going to be 10 meters longer?
Well, define next Starship. Basically, there's been multiple times where Elon has sort of oh, there we go, on the ship. You can see some frost.
There we go. Condensation on the ship.
Excellent.
They are progressing.
So yeah, there has been multiple times where Elon has said, like, oh, we'll change the flaps on the ship, or, you know, things of that nature. He has recently said they're going to stretch the ship by 10 meters. Certainly that's something that could happen. But if you look at what vehicles have been built so far, Ship 24 is the same as Ship 25. Ship 26 and 27 are virtually the same, at least tankage-wise, the tank section and the nose cone. They don't have, 26 and 27 don't have flaps, and they don't have thermal tiles. However, 28 is a return to thermal tiles and flaps, and I believe 29 is as well, although I could be mistaken there on 29. All that is to say, they have a assembly line going on here in Boca Chica, and part of what they're doing here, Elon has said, is they're building the machine that builds the machines. And periodically, that assembly line does make a shift over to a new variant of a vehicle, and we've seen that many times over. So as of right now, we have not seen any indications that there is a Starship coming down the pipe on the assembly line that is 10 meters longer. At some point, we will see that. But as of right now, we are dealing with sort of either, you know, if you want to think about it, starships that are re-entry capable, and starships that are not. And they're basically all based off of the same tankage section, and they are all the same height. So at some point, I wouldn't be surprised to see Starship get stretched like 10 meters longer. Of course, another thing Elon has hinted at is adding 3 additional Raptor vacuum engines for a total of 9 engines on the ship. But as of right now, none of the hardware that we've seen at the production site, the assembly line that's building these things, none of the hardware we've seen has either changed flaps, additional engines, stretched tanks. Those are all things that certainly, seems like they will happen at some point. It's something SpaceX is certainly thinking about, but so far, not yet.
Yeah. The development timeline for SpaceX, it changes very quickly, for Starship at least.
It's kind of
And
wild. If you think about it, the vehicle we're looking at right now is obsolete.
Yes, that is a very fair point.
Which is a wild thing to say and think about, but truly, Booster 7 in particular is obsolete. It has an outmoded thrust vector control actuation system. That's the system that moves the engines around. The Booster 7 uses a hydraulic system. Booster 9 and beyond uses an electric system, and that's just one aspect. And there's many things that we don't see or don't know about that I'm sure are changing between boosters. There are a few things that we do see and we do know about, and that is one of them, the electric versus hydraulic. But all that is to say, this vehicle is about a year old, and you got to figure SpaceX is planning ahead and doing the design work and doing the engineering for all sorts of things, whether it's the human landing system variant that will go to the moon, whether it's a Martian variant that's going to need, I almost said shoes, that's going to need legs. I guess the legs might have shoes on them. So yeah, this is an outdated vehicle, even though it's still a big deal that it's going to fly, and it's still going to give them a significant amount of good data, at least we hope so. It's an outdated vehicle. And so, yes, there are things that are coming down the pipe, and that will happen in due course.
I'm just going to quickly throw it over to the merch store, shop.nasaspaceflight.com, because our patches, if you didn't already know, we've got some patches out for this flight. So if you want to get an actual patch, which you can, sew onto your jacket or sew into your bag or put some Velcro on, stick its places, that is available at shop.nasaspaceflight.com. It's a wonderful design by Pauline. So if you want to get that in patch form, you can. There's also stickers, there's mugs, there's t-shirts, there's hoodies, jumpers, and there's even a banner if you want to put it up on your wall or something like that. So that patch is available, shop.nasaspaceflight.com. And with that, I'm going to wrap up my second stint for today. I won't be back with you before T0, but I am going to hand it over to Jack, and we should also have a Sawyer chiming in from now and again as well. So thanks, everybody, and good luck with the final hour to go. It's getting really exciting now.
Thanks, Ryan. It's getting really real, to use a trite phrase. It's really getting real. Holy cow, this is really happening.
Yeah, right, Jack. Looking at this vehicle, it suddenly is there. We are there, and I hope this goes well. Just to set expectations here again, they still have to ignite 33 Raptor engine, and they have to work before we see a liftoff. There's still hurdles on the way here. They can clear them. They have a shot here, but don't be prepared that something might change. It's normal.
Yeah, that's a really good, really good point, Adrian. I would like to underscore that here momentarily. Just really quickly, John buying some stuff from the store saying, "Happy birthday, James." I just wanted to throw that out there. I am cycling through some of these messages and some of the super chats that are coming through because we are 40 minutes behind right now, and I want to make sure everyone appreciates or knows that we appreciate the support. So thank you so much to everybody who is throwing $1 in the hat or $5 or becoming a member and supporting the channel in that way. Look at that ship glistening in the sunlight, nice and frosty. That is exactly what we want to see.
What a beautiful shot. It's like the perfect, even the light is like, it's perfect for this. Everything is perfect.
If we get a launch today, we're all very, very, very lucky because we all remember serial number 11 when it was fog. Even serial number 15, the one that landed You know, the final ship that was that conducted a high altitude flight test. That day was pretty gray and foggy. I mean, honestly, it was barely visible, which compared to SN8, SN9, and SN10, you know, it was a dreary day. So if we get a nice, beautiful, clear, crisp day like this for launch, I mean, you really can't ask for much more. Speaking of not asking for much more, Russell Snodgrass, buddy, thank you, with a $500 super chat. Russell, that's another one of those names we've seen pop up many times with the high dollar support. Thank you so much, Russell. I mean, it's so much money. That is so much money. It's absolutely just wild that somebody would want to contribute that much to what we do. And I want you to know that we appreciate that support so much. We're going to take that money and do what we always do, which is plow it right back into NASA spaceflight, right back into NSF cameras, NSF feeds, NSF perks for our members, just NSF content. That's what we're going to do. Thank you so much, Russell. That is absolutely outstanding. Russell's message says, so excited for this. Been watching and enjoying your streams since Starhopper. Thanks to Chris B, Jack, Doss, Adrian, Alex, Michael B, Mary, and the whole crew. Your coverage entertains and informs. Enjoy the day. Thank you, Russell. We will absolutely enjoy the day. We will 100% do what we can to do right by your contribution and honor it, because holy cow, thank you. That is a truly outstanding amount of support.
Thank you from all of us, absolutely.
Wow. Oh, hey, Sawyer.
Hi, I'm here. And we are keeping an eye on the ship. We should hopefully be seeing frost any moment on the liquid oxygen tank on board Ship 24.
Sweet.
It's insane. I still try to cope with what's happening here right now.
Yeah, Adrian, you're here. You have flown here from Germany. You took a risk getting a plane flight here before we knew that this was even going to be the day. I mean, you are truly have taken a gamble, and hopefully, my friend, today is the day that your gamble pays off. Absolutely, way to go.
I'm so looking forward to this. It's insane. I hope we see this in an hour. That's yeah.
Yeah, me too. Rocket Fella, thank you for becoming a launch director member. That's one of the higher levels of member support there.
I do just want to remind everyone and point it out the fact that the window does extend until 9:30 a.m. Central Time, so there is the potential that it may be a little over an hour, but we're hoping 60 minutes from now or so.
Right, so before Russell Snodgrass blew my mind with that absolutely outstanding amount of support, I did want to underscore that while things are progressing rapidly and exactly how we want them to, it is important to note that there are things that could come up in the flow. They could have an issue with loading propellant. They could have an issue in the terminal count. They could get all the way or very close to T0 and have an issue with the Raptors or with any number of things. So we're all very excited and we all want to see this rocket go today, but it's important to keep in mind that today could not be the day. We all hope it is, but it could be not the day. And so just have that have that in your mind. If something does happen to cause a hold, don't fret. They'll hopefully be able to recycle.
There is a frost line. There is a frost line on the ship.
Yes, that's what we want to see. Excellent.
Jack, what is going on here?
A lot of things, Doss. Also, hey, what's up?
I figured I'd stop in and see if there's launching any rockets today.
I mean, maybe a little bit. We'll see.
There's a frost line on the Starship, and they're cleared for launch.
Yep. They have the launch license. There's nothing left to do except for kick their tires, light the fires, and send this thing into space. That's what I said in the update video this morning.
Nice.
Yesterday morning.
So nice.
I guess it's
you
the
say it
morning
twice.
Again. Yeah, exactly.
Excellent. Well, don't let me interrupt. I wanted to jump in all of a sudden because it's getting serious over here. The sun is coming up. It is a beautiful day. There is not a cloud in the sky in any direction right now.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you're not interrupting. It's really good to hear your voice, actually. I know you've been sort of running around and getting things stowed away and everything working and whatnot. So thank you for all that you've been doing this morning.
Hey, we've been having a lot of fun, and we are ready to see what's going to happen. I think it's excitement guaranteed, right?
Yep, excitement is indeed guaranteed.
By the way, I
I would.
need to interrupt here for a quick second. There's something that we just need to point out. We are aware of what's going on in chat, and Crispy really didn't want to do it, but with over 170,000 people on the stream and chat being unreadable for all due to how fast it was moving, including some people not speaking English, we did have to make it members only just for the key part of this countdown. We promise it will be back to normal afterwards.
Holy cow. Beth Sanders with a $300 super chat. Thank you so much, Beth. Beth says, thank you guys for covering this moment in space history. Beth, thank you for putting your confidence and faith into what we do. Thank you for watching, and thank you so much for that extremely generous amount of support. Rest assured, like I just told Russell, we will take that money, plow it back into the NSF fields, and grow y'all some amazing frickin' content. I hope you have been seeing the work that has gone into this stream. Go ahead.
I have to interrupt. That's the ship engine chill vent.
Excellent.
We have the first signs of engine chills. So they are now preparing some of the Raptors. It's not the full engine chill, but it's like they are getting ready. They're preparing the engines. We are 1 hour and 36 seconds. We are 1 hour away from Starship launching. Maybe.
Hopefully, we think so. Fingers crossed, knock on wood, stand on one leg and touch your nose while you rub your stomach. I don't know. You get it. Hopefully. But Beth, thank you, Beth, so much. Here's a deal. There's a balance that has to be struck here because we're commentating. We're trying to tell you guys what's going on. We're trying to make sure everybody knows what's happening. We're trying to keep the hype train rolling here. At the same time, Beth, that is a huge amount of support. So thank you. I want to underscore the fact that we appreciate that. Also, Russell, thank you. Thank you to everybody, whether it's $1, $5, whether you're buying a patch from the store, whatever it is, thank you so much. But at the same time as I want to show sincere appreciation for this amount of support, I know you don't want me to hear me just talk about that this entire time. So let's move on and start talking again about what we expect to see next. Adrian, what is next up in the flow here?
Oh, let me get that timeline. Well, that is the timeline here. I love this timeline, by the way. The next thing that will happen is that the engines, the 33 Raptor engines below the Super Heavy booster, will start to chill down in preparation for the ignition sequence. That's basically one of the final steps where they make sure the engines are very well conditioned, prepared for their cryogenic fluids, going through them, and once that is happening, they can get ready for ignition.
We're under an hour. We are under an hour away. Oh, and we have a tweet from Elon.
Oh.
We might not be set up to show it yet. I'm sorry, production team. Elon is just confirming that propellant load for Starship is underway. Liftoff in T-1 hour. So that is the status. We are under an hour.
That was at 7:18 a.m. Central Time. So just for reference there, 8:18 a.m. Central Time appears to be the T0.
Excellent. All right, let's see. Let's do some more questions. How about? Here's one. Julian is asking, does engine chill on Ship 24 start while it's on the pad or when it is in flight already? I mean, we just talked about it. It has started while it's on the pad. Adrian, that's how that works, right?
Yeah, you don't have the time to do it in the short amount of time while you go to space. They usually condition these engines while they are still on the ground. That makes they basically have two pipes at the side of the ship where they vent out the at the booster you can vent it out at the bottom and you can vent it out to ground pipes, what they are doing. On the ship you need to vent it out at the side because otherwise you would have a buildup of gas in the interstage. So that's why they make sure that they get that out. That's what we just saw.
Cool deal.
Jack, do you hear the excitement in Adrian's voice?
I do, and I mean, I've heard Adrian excited many times, but I've never heard him quite this excited. and it's rightfully so.
I'm standing here behind him, like, and he's been on commentary for so long, and he had to stand up to like get some of his energy out so he could see the rocket. He was just looking at the laptop, right? And he had to stand up, and he's like dancing around actually right now. Adrian, you good? I think he's good.
I'm good in the most positive way. It's
In the most positive way.
it's nerve-wracking. It's insane to watch, and I'm really looking forward to this. And yes, at some point you don't want to sit anymore, because when I sit on this desk here, I cannot see Starbase. So at some point I just wanted to stand up so I can constantly, while commentating, look at Starbase.
Yeah,
It's a good problem to have.
It's quite hard to sit still. I mean, I think we're all entering sort of pace mode, where we just kind of walk back and forth and sort of anticipate the launch of this massive machine. I mean, holy cow! Really quickly, just Abriana with a store message that says, "For my boyfriend Ryan, who sets midnight alarms just to watch rockets fly. Enjoy the launch." Oh, that's sweet. Okay. I kind of need to go set up a camera and get that working, as we are getting very close to launch here. So I think I'm going to leave you guys in the capable hands of
Would you like me to take over?
Yeah, Sawyer, it's all you, buddy. There's so many super chats. There's so many messages. I don't even. Good luck. Good luck keeping up with it all. To everybody watching right now from around the world, thank you so much for tuning in to NSF's coverage of the very first Starship test flight. Just thank you so much for putting your faith in us to deliver you the news. We're doing the very best we can, and I hope and I suspect that shows. So I'm going to jump off, get my camera rig set up, and perhaps I'll jump back on as I get that set up and can step away from it. But I need to get prepared for launch, because we're just about 55 minutes away. And Chris Bergen said it best in chat, "My brain can't deal with this." Yeah, I am suspending disbelief, and I'm going to just accept that this is real and get my camera set up. So, holy cow, I'll see y'all in a little bit.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Jack. And again, thank you everyone who's already been giving us your support so far. We now are planning, it appears, like a T0 of 8:18 a.m. Central Time per the latest tweet from Elon Musk. So, Adrian, where are we at, by the way, in the fueling process? So what propellants are being loaded up right now?
Basically everything. They are loading on both 4 tanks propellants, as we can see right now. We can see frost rings on everything. So yeah, everything looks good so far. Looks progressing. They're a bit for more ahead in the booster, of course, because that started earlier. But the ship's tanks are smaller, so they will catch up. And right now the tank farm is exactly what it's supposed to do, which is providing as much cryogenic fluids as they can.
Exactly. And it is interesting to point out there, so what you're seeing there with that looks like smoke coming off of it, that is just the super chilled outside of the vehicle as those super cooled propellants are loaded inside the ship and inside the booster. And it's also interesting that you can see the distinct lines of the individual tanks. So you can tell which one is liquid methane and which one is oxygen. What is the breakdown of that, by the way? Which tank is which?
The
Go ahead, Adrian.
the smaller tanks are the methane tanks. The bigger ones are the liquid oxygen tanks. That's the general rule. And yeah, I'm always lost when I'm. Oh, there's ice breaking from the top tank a bit. There was a bit of ice just falling down while they are tanking this.
And again, that is completely normal. The
Yeah,
ice is expected to fall off. And a reminder for those who are taking a look on both, the liquid oxygen tank is on the bottom and the liquid methane tank is on top, and that is both for the booster and for ship 24 as well. Continuing to just go through all of your support here. It's really appreciated. We have some immense support. Eric Ramey here with a $100 tip. Thank you very much for that. So excited for this launch. Really happy how far NSFs have come. We very much appreciate that and the support and the love from everyone out there who's watching and helping here. We've got Stephen J with the $300 super chat. No message there, just the kind support. Stephen J, thank you very much. It's from people like you that we can actually continue to do what we do and provide this to everyone, as well as from Fatimore with a $100 saying, awesome quality, guys and gals. Keep up the excellence. We appreciate it. And Fizz with $120. Thank you for such great coverage. Go Starship. We are completely on board with you with that. And Andy Good with the €100. Thanks, Chris and all the team, for years of incredible coverage. Let's go. I am definitely on board with that. Let's go indeed. As we're getting closer now into the countdown here, we are continuing to see fueling going on at this moment. There is a great view where you can see the distinct lines of the liquid oxygen and liquid methane being loaded into both the booster and Ship 24 at the very top there. And that is expected to continue for a little while now, as we approach that T0 though. Let's see if we have any quick questions from you guys that we can go through while we keep an eye on the fuel load here. Adrian, I'll pose this one to you. While we're looking at the vehicle in the bottom left there's that large black clamp at the base of the rocket. What exactly is that, and will it move prior to launch?
Yeah, that is the booster quick disconnect. So basically there are two parts of this vehicle, how they fuel it. You can see the arm on the ship. The arm on the ship is providing the liquids to the upper stage, and at the bottom there is the booster quick disconnect, which is providing all of the liquids that are needed to the first stage. At close to liftoff, they will both retract. The ship QD will move to the side, while the booster QD will retract to itself, like in this protective shell, to protect all the lines in there and the electronics from the energy of the Raptors passing by. So you don't have to build that up every single launch. So yeah, that's basically part of the infrastructure to fuel these rockets.
Exactly, and it's very similar to the quick disconnect arm, which is up near the top. That's at Ship 24. Again, that is also expected to pull away at T0, and is currently doing its best to provide all the services that the booster, or that the ship needs, just like the hold down there. Let's see, we are continuing to keep an eye on the engine chill here. Thank you everyone for all the support. And I do want to point out that we do have someone else that is joining us here to help out with some of these questions and all the support and launch coverage, and that is Ian Atkinson. Ian, how are you?
Hey guys, anything interesting happening today?
I don't know if there's anything happening.
I don't know. All right, I'll see you guys later then. This sounds pretty boring.
Very funny.
Kid.
It is good to have you here, and we are getting so many questions and support here from everyone. We really appreciate it. Feels like we've got some more questions that we can take care of here. And Ian, I'm going to send one over to you. And that is going to be, is the rocket standing on top of the orbital launch mount, or is it encapsulated inside? And is there a risk of the booster colliding with the inner ring or walls? And that's from Decade.
Yeah, so it is kind of inside the orbital launch mount, only partially. So the engine section, or the aft skirt of Super Heavy, is within the orbital launch mount. Now, any risk of collision at liftoff really would only be if it went laterally, if it somehow went left to right, forward to backwards. There will be a good bit of clearance between the inner edge of the orbital mount and the sides of the booster itself. And that will only be any risk of collision for like a half second at most. There's pretty much no risk of collision. So it is resting on 20 quick disconnect umbilicals, or sorry, 20 hold down points that will rapidly disconnect and retract into the mount right at liftoff. So there is.
Ian, I'm going to take over from there for you a quick sec. It sounded a bit robotic. Apologies for that. But we'll give you a second to get that taken a look at. In the meantime, there you can see Ship 24. As we progress, again, 8:18 a.m. Central Time is what we're looking at. We should be seeing, it looks like a vent there on the ship. we can see that to the right, just underneath the chopstick arms. And a reminder, those chopstick arms are currently open, which is in the position it is expected to be for launch. We are progressing now with that timeline. We'll be able to run you through here what else we can continue to expect in this timeline as we progress. So as we mentioned, the fueling is underway on both the ship and the booster. That includes liquid oxygen and liquid methane. As we continue along with the countdown, we will expect to see Raptor engine chill begin on the booster a little under 17 minutes or so before T0. And again, that is getting them cooled down and prepared for the thermal shock that they will experience once those engines completely ignite. Then the next major procedure will be at T-minus 40 seconds when the fluid interfaces begin their vent down sequence before the Raptor engines start 8 seconds before liftoff. And again, I just do want to point out that vent that we saw is completely normal. Those vents typically are used to help even out the pressure inside all of the fuel tanks in both the ship and the booster, so there is nothing to worry about when you see those. Just wanted to point that out.
Hey, Sawyer.
Hi, Das. How's it going?
Oh, I am in and out. I am all over the place. We are firing on more cylinders than we actually have right now. But just checking in from the roof of the Margaritaville Resort, South Padre Island over here, it continues to be a beautiful day. There are people down on the beach. Again, still not a cloud in the sky. The sun is coming up. I actually forgot my sunglasses in the truck, so we're just going to have to deal with that. But I don't think that we could have asked for a nicer day to watch this.
Exactly. Thank you for chiming in with that. Yeah, the weather looks absolutely gorgeous. Perfectly clear skies, and like we mentioned before, it's unlike SN11 or SN15, who those remember where it was quite foggy, especially SN11. We've got gorgeously clear skies, and we can see everything beautifully happening to the booster and the ship right now. And a reminder... Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, you're on top of the hotel right now, which we have a camera up there, which you can see in our multi-view, which you can access for all of our members who are Red Team and above.
Sawyer says we have a camera up here. Sawyer.
Do we?
We bought out the camera store. We have so many cameras up here. It took us like 15 trips up to carry all the cameras we have. We've got a fiber line up here. We've got wireless infrastructure up here. We're controlling all of the different sites from our command post here on the, well, I say on the roof of the hotel. It really relays through the hotel. And all the remote folks, the production team, are really knocking it out of the park today. But I got to say really quickly, massive thanks to the folks here at the hotel. It's the Margaritaville Resort, South Padre Island, and they set us up with not just a place to watch the lunch from. We've got a room downstairs. They just renovated the whole place. We've actually got a fiber line, and we worked with the hotel to run a fiber line from the server room downstairs all the way to the roof. But they have been absolutely fantastic to us over here. So I hope that this isn't the first, this isn't the last time we see a Starship launch from here. And if anybody ever ends up coming down this way, check out the Margaritaville Resort. It's ridiculously nice. They're good people. And a lot of what you are seeing on the screen right now is because they worked with us and they helped us make all this happen. Sorry, I had to jump in. This is just a wonderful place. This is a wonderful day.
No, thank you for jumping in. And again, thank you to the people over at the Margaritaville Resort there for allowing us to get all of that set up and bring you guys this extra coverage. Really, really appreciate it. And again, you can see link in chat right now as well to that.
Nice.
And again, reminder, you have that multi-view for Red Team and above. It cycles through 9 boxes worth of cameras all the time, so you keep getting more and more views, some that you might not even get to see on stream. So
yeah. You got a big vent on the ship there, Sawyer. Did I see that right?
Yeah, it looks like we just had a big vent there, and so far, everything looking good. A reminder, those vents are normal. That is the pressures evening out as we continue in the count at about T-minus 43 minutes and counting. Unbelievable there.
At this point, this feels kind of... So we are now in the range where this is basically our normal Falcon 9 streams. We are now in the range where we usually would go live for Falcon 9. It's
yeah, except there is no T-minus 20-minute vent. We've already had quite a big vent here so far with all the ships and the boosters. So There we go. Continuing along here, I do want to, again, thank some of the people with some tremendous support here. Justin Davenport, sounds familiar, with a $150 tip. Here's a little addition to Jack's Bacon Fund, Go Starship. I'm sure Jack appreciates that. Cameron with the 160 Australian dollars. Frank Green, drink bottles are hard to drink from. Thank you very much for the message and for all of the support there as well. So many of you being so kind and so generous. It's really appreciated. New Black with a €200 tip, which is another way you can support us, tips.nasaspaceflight.com. Amazing stream, guys. 20 TVs in our office tuned in. Special shout out to Adrian as your SME. We love the detailed info. New Black, thank you. And Adrian, we love having your commentary as well, especially as we get closer to your first ever launch. And it just so happens to be the most powerful rocket in the world. Snot Garden with more support, another $100 super chat. Let's go. Artificial reef incoming, which, yes, that's actually a very good point that we should probably address there. So, Adrian, what is going to happen with this booster after it flies and does its kind of boost back burn? What are we expecting to have off the coast right near you?
Yeah, what we will see is a partial boost back burn, where it will come a bit more towards us as it was if it just wouldn't perform that. But it will not go all the way to us back, where you would, for example, go if you would wanted to catch this booster using the chopsticks. It will only use a partial boost back and then perform a landing burn. That landing burn is about 20 seconds long, and after that they will perform it will be a soft splashdown in the best case in the Gulf of Mexico, where the booster will splash down in the water, and then they will try, based on FAA documentation, different ways to sink the booster. They will try to open vents, and then, if that doesn't work, try to change the orientation of the booster so the water flows into the booster so that booster sinks. And if these two things don't work, they will shoot it to sink it. So they have a backup plan for a backup plan.
Yes, the launch license specifically states that they can use firearms if needed to sink it. But a reminder, when it does sink, it is not the... it's not like we're polluting the waters or anything there. That is actually intentionally designed, and many former rocket stages and boosters that are at the bottom of the Gulf or of oceans are now used as artificial reefs for the local wildlife. So just wanted to make a note of that, and also the reference in that tip there to the reefs as well. And also a support here from Peter Shaw with the $50 tip, saying, I missed SN15's flight by 15 minutes. 2 years later, get to see my first live Starship launch. Thanks to all of NSF for fostering the interest and knowledge in aerospace. Ad Astra, ad Historia. Absolutely, yes. Thank you as well for your support and for everyone who is coming through as we continue to count down below T-minus 40 minutes now until the scheduled T0 time. So we do have a window that we are currently in. Ian, do we have you back? And if so, what is the remaining launch window? So how long could they continue to go if something were to come up?
Yeah, I hope you do have me back now. The window is going to be going until 9:30 a.m. Central Time. So given that the time right now is 7:41 Central Time, we have just under 2 hours until the window closes. So even if they do need to hold a little bit here, so we're coming up now, so we're coming up now on T-minus 38 minutes, even if they do have to hold a little bit, they still have a little bit of margin and a little bit of wiggle room to work with within this launch window. So still plenty of time in case they come in with any issues.
All right. Which, again, hopefully they don't, but considering that this is a test flight, and this is the first time that we have gone into an actual attempt at a liftoff, it is possible that we could see holds of even just a couple of minutes. So just want to make people aware that that is possible. All right, let's see what else we have. Some other questions that we can get answered here for you. Let's see. What is the plan for the splashdown for the ship? We talked a little bit about the booster coming back near Starbase. What about the ship itself, and what can we expect there?
Yeah, so the ship will perform a bit of a hard splashdown because there will not be like the belly flop and then re-end. Like they will not perform a horizontal flip maneuver, and they will just let the ship splash down into the Pacific Ocean. And yeah, that will be, if they get to that point, amazing. But there will we will not see a move where the ship will be used. This ship will for sure not survive this mission. That's the sad reality.
Right, and it is important to note that is planned. It is not that we are expecting that it's unexpected that it might crash or anything. This is part of SpaceX's plan and part of the license plan that they have approved with the FAA, that both the booster and the ship will splash down with no attempt at recovery. Continuing along here with more questions, let's get one over to you, Ian. Are they still expected to perform the belly flop?
Yes, so according to SpaceX documentation, they are performing a belly flop. Now, they are not performing the engine reignition to do the flip and burn. They're just going to belly flop straight into the Pacific. So that is if they make it through reentry. So if they make it through reentry, they're just going to continue on the horizontal descent, much like they did with early ships, but without any form of landing. So that's what we should be expecting about an hour and a half after liftoff.
All right, and that is something we'll absolutely keep an eye on. And a reminder that, as you said, there is no entry burn, right? It's just going to come back down because of the trajectory.
Yeah, there is no deorbit burn. There's no, after the Raptors shut off at Seco about 9 minutes after liftoff, there is no more burns. There are no more burns of the Raptors during flight.
That is good and important to note there as we continue along here. So the vehicle itself, though, it does have those heat shield tiles on one side. That is the black side, right, Adrian? And that's part of the ship?
Yes, the black side is that's the shielded side for the for the protection system. The whole black side is basically for re-entry. That's the way how the ship would reorient itself during re-entry to survive the re-entry. These tiles are for these heat protection. But again, we'll see how that holds up. We saw on previous static fires and also on previous flights, like these shorter flights, that sometimes some of these tiles came off. So we'll see if they learned from that, if the tiles will all stick on, if some of them might be loose. So that's also a watch item that not only we have, but I bet SpaceX also has, because it's very interesting for them to see how the heat shield performs. It's very crucial that the heat shield performs well over the long period of time, as it is kind of necessary to achieve the reusability goals of Starship.
Exactly. That is one of the significant test milestones that, if they get that far, that they hope to accomplish. And a reminder that as of right now, their goal is to get to T-0, which according to the official timeline says excitement guaranteed, and emphasizes that anything beyond that is, quote, best case scenario. So that's what they would be hoping for. Elon Musk has said in the past that the main goal, of course, is to not destroy Stage 0, which is all of the ground infrastructure. But one of the key milestones to keep an eye out for is Max Q. Ian, can you explain what Max Q is and why that's so important?
Yeah, so max Q is the moment of maximum dynamic stress on the vehicle. Basically the moment where it's going through the peak aerodynamic stresses that it will experience during flight. Now, this is happening today at around T plus 55 seconds. And so what's going to happen at that point is basically the vehicle is pushing so hard against the atmosphere, it can't get the atmosphere out of the way quickly enough. So it's getting maximum aerodynamic pressure on it. And that's a really, really big milestone in any rocket launch, especially a test launch like Starship today, because it is a major validation of the structure of the vehicle. Now, if the vehicle passes through max Q, that means that they did their structural calculations correctly. And it is really, really, really a significant moment in a test flight. I think that if they make it through max Q today, it will be a treasure trove of data for them to go through. So max Q is a major milestone in flight.
Exactly. So that's why we're keeping an eye out for that significant milestone there as well. And that's why it's such a major part of that timeline. Of course, one of the big things would be getting to stage separation as well, which, Adrian, do we know how the stage separation is expected to work on this flight?
Yeah, based on information that Elon shared with Tim Dodd in an interview, it will appear that they will perform some sort of kick maneuver where they basically bring the ship and the booster on different kind of rotations. So it's very similar to actually how they deploy Starlinks right now. It's more about movement and rotation than about any sort of explosive or any sort of piston that drives the stages out of each other. So yeah, it will be mostly based on a probably like kick rotation movement, but we will see how that exactly works. I'm very curious how this maneuver will play out.
Exactly. I think all of us are. That'll be exciting to watch. And I do want to acknowledge some impressive support coming in here from Justin with the $500 super chat, saying, "Been watching NSF since SN8. Thanks for everything you do and all the great content. Can't wait to see this giant fly. Bacon's on me." We are so appreciative, Justin. The support that everyone has given us is unbelievably insane and unbelievably appreciated. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It is with the support from people like you that we can do what we are able to do every day and provide you 24/7 camera feeds from Starbase, to provide you multi-views, and to provide you this coverage today. So thank you so much, and we genuinely mean that. Thank you. And to everyone who's watching, we appreciate your support as well. Just watching, liking, and sharing is a major support for the channel as well. Getting some really good views here of the booster getting frosty. I did see a question from one of the members asking, how much fuel are we expected to see loaded into the vehicle? Ian?
Yes, we're expecting a nearly maximum propellant load. Now, in every launch vehicle, there's going to be a little bit of, I guess, void space above the liquid propellant. That's to account for boil off and things like that. So we should be expecting a full, if not nearly full, propellant load. Now, during the wet dress rehearsal, it didn't look like it was completely filled. Again, this could be that void space I was talking about that is present on every launch vehicle, or they could be slightly underfilling the tanks just for a bit of safety and to have a little bit of margin there as they're learning to work with this new launch vehicle.
Exactly. And also important that they have the vehicle fully fueled, because as of now, we do not know, and there's not expected to be any payload on board, right?
Yeah, there's no payload on board that we know of. There could be like little mementos, little like trinkets that they added on, but there's nothing official that we've heard of, and absolutely no useful payloads, like no satellites on board.
And just to point out this time milestone, we are now below 30 minutes to the launch of Starship.
Unbelievable. I cannot wait.
I can't believe the time is finally here. It is getting that much closer, and it is feeling real. So let's take a quick look while we have a second then at the timeline of what still remains in the countdown. Next up, we are expecting the Booster Raptor engine chill coming up. T-minus 16 minutes and 40 seconds, so about 13 minutes from right now. That is, again, chilling down the 33 Raptor V2 engines at the bottom of the vehicle, and that is getting them cooled down so that once you get the fuel going through it, they don't experience insane thermal shock and are able to get that thrust up and running. After that will be the fluid interface vent down sequence at T-minus 40 seconds, getting everything pressurized ahead of flight there, which we then should get the go for launch shortly after, ending with the liftoff at T0. Now, of interesting note is that the engine ignition sequence is at T-minus 8 seconds. So why is it taking 8 seconds, and what is the process of the ignition sequence, Adrian?
Yeah, based on what we saw with the static fire, they will not ignite all Raptor engines at the same moment. What they will do instead is ignite them in stages. They will basically power them up, not one by one, but more in groups. And then at the end, since this is also still a long sequence, they will probably perform basically a static fire. It will basically be a situation where they will have the hold down still active, throttle the engines up to 90%, and then once the launch commit criteria are all green, once the engines are all looking good, then they will command the launch clamps to release. And yeah, after that, there's no way back.
Yeah, once it lifts off, hopefully it will continue on its flight. Now, there is another vent, it looks like, coming from the top of Ship 24, right in between the chopsticks there, which we talk about those metal things there, calling them the chopsticks. For those who don't know, Ian, what are chopsticks?
Yes, the chopsticks are those two grabby arms that you just pointed out there, Sawyer. Now, those are actually multi-purpose. So first off, the only purpose we've seen them perform so far is stacking of the vehicles on the orbital launch mount. So first off, they will grab the booster, stack the booster on the orbital pad, grab the Starship, and then stack Starship on top of the booster. We've seen them do that multiple times, and they seem to be great at it. It's a very effective system that doesn't have people at the pad required to stack the vehicles. Now, also what they're going to be doing in the future, this will likely be several orbital flights down the line, actually, they will attempt to catch the booster. Now, what will happen there is the chopsticks will become almost fully closed, and the booster will basically attempt to land on the chopsticks. Now, there are two grabbing points on the top of the booster that are used for lifting it. Those will also be the catch points. And we will likely not see a booster catch attempt for several flights, but we will definitely be on the lookout for that, and that will be very exciting to see.
Oh, yes. That will be down the line, as you mentioned, way down the line, but not expected to be attempted in any way, shape, or form on today's test flight. Chardy, with the very generous support of 50 euro, thank you very much. Watching since Starhopper until Static Fire Test 1. Appreciate you watching, and yes, perfectly said. Enjoy this moment, everyone. Enjoy this moment. Let's rock and roll. And Martin with the $200 support as well, saying thank you for all you do. Super excited for a SpaceX launch this morning. And we are just as excited as you are, in case you can't tell, as the countdown is continuing and proceeding. As of right now, the scheduled T0, 8:18 a.m. Central Time, with the window extending until 9:30 a.m. Central Time if needed. Paul coming in as well here with a $200 super chat. My first NSF Live was Hopper's flight. It's been a fun ride. Thank you guys. And thank you for sticking with us for all that time. We appreciate everyone that is continuing to join us here. And I do want to point out we are getting word from SpaceX Mission Control that as of now, all remains go in their current countdown.
I mean, just to talk about this countdown, because we are right now in a situation where we shortly have that time. They just, even if they abort now, this was a incredibly clean attempt up until this point. Like, this is the first time they're trying to launch this, and they are all the way through already to 25 minutes. This is very clean so far. They're doing great.
And a very important update as well, we are hearing that weather is currently green or go. At this point, the winds may pick up a little bit later on, but it is currently within limits. Again, this is according to SpaceX, not to the official range itself. We are hearing that the range is almost clear, though. There is currently a boat that is within the violation zone, but is in the process of being cleared, and we are hoping that that is cleared by the scheduled T0. So
Really
as
hope
of
so.
now, we're hearing that it seems like it's not a big deal at the moment. As mentioned also, again, all continues to be go so far. I still can't believe that all is go at this point. While we're talking about those keep-out zones, Ian, what exactly are Note Mars and Note TAMs, and why is it so important that we're keeping these ranges clear?
Yeah, so like you said, Sawyer, these are absolutely critical. So Note Mars, which are notices to mariners, are basically outlines of ocean area where they're saying, hey, do not go here. If you do go here, you are going to get fined and probably get your boating license revoked. Now, those keep out areas are certain areas where SpaceX and the FAA and the Coast Guard all agree, hey, in a worst case scenario, if the vehicle goes off course or if, worst case scenario, it explodes, this is where the debris is going to fall in a worst case scenario. So they clear out all that area, and there's no boaters in there. There's also NOTAMs filed, notices to air missions, which are basically Note Mars but for planes. So it's airspace that they clear out. No planes are allowed in there. And the FAA is responsible for dealing with those. Now, like you said, Sawyer, there is a boat in the range that is a violation of the Note Mar. So the Coast Guard is taking care of that right now. That boater will probably face a significant fine, and that's why those are essential to keep people safe. You don't want to have any debris risking impact on a plane, on a boat, anything like that. You want no risks to human lives at all during this mission.
Exactly. You're getting a look at some of those restricted areas, before, and now we'll look at the current planned flight path, as we are now hearing that the Ship 24 methane header tank load is underway. Adrian, what are the header tanks on Ship 24?
Yeah, the header tanks will, down the line, be used for the landing burns, because they will prevent, for example, splashing around in the tanks. Because if you have, imagine if you all put all your propellant only in one tank, then you will have a situation that during the flip burn maneuver, you will have propellants flying around in the ship, which means they're not there where you need them to ignite the engines or keep them fed with propellants. That's why you have the header tanks. It's basically a way to have compressed, non-flying around propellants for the support of the landing burns. They are filling them here probably because it's part of the flow. Again, they will not need them as they are not performing a landing burn, but they are probably still wanted to test them, still wanted to make that part of this this whole test.
Right, that is important to note that while it may not be used, they are progressing with everything that you would expect in a full Starship integrated flight countdown. So that will hopefully be used, as you mentioned, down the line. For now, though, it seems like it might just be to help balance out the mass of the vehicle and get basically an idea of, once you do load propellants on board and plan to try and land it, what are the aerodynamics, how will it fly, and what we can expect to see. We are continuing along now with the countdown as we are approaching T-minus 21 minutes now and counting. This is not like Falcon 9 where we have a T-minus 20-minute vent. At this point, though, we do occasionally see some vents coming from either the ship or the booster. Ian, why would we be seeing vents, little vents here and there?
Yes, we've seen little vents here and there to stabilize the tank pressure. So like we said before, the Starship is filled with liquid methane and liquid oxygen. Now, those are very, very, very cold propellants. They don't like being liquid, so they will boil off naturally. Now, as they boil off, they turn, of course, into gas, which is a much higher pressure than the liquid is. Now, in order to keep the tanks at a stable pressure so they don't burst or leak or anything, they vent pressure every now and then, and that's those little puffs of gas that you see coming out of the vehicle. It's just venting off normal amounts of gaseous propellants that boil off. It's totally normal, something we're going to see up until the last few moments of the countdown, so something to keep an eye on there.
Yeah, speaking of that kind of boiling off and the gas that we're seeing there, you can see the frost continuing to build on both the booster on the bottom there and Ship 24 at the top. Adrian, for those who don't know, what is that frost that we see on the outside of the vehicle, and why are we seeing two distinct frost lines?
Yeah, so the booster is basically has two tanks. One is for methane, one is for liquid oxygen. Both are cryo-cooled, which means they are very, very cold. As soon as they come out in contact with the tank wall, because on Starship the tank wall is the wall. Like there's no tank inside of this. It's just this tank wall. As soon as basically they come in contact with them on the inner side, it creates frost on the outer side as they are getting so cool. Basically, the atmosphere cools on them and they start to freeze up. And that's what we see. And we see both tanks right now being freezed up, and you can basically see the level where the oxygen and the methane are right now. You can see it rise as it comes in contact with the tank wall.
And we are expecting to see that fully frosty, especially there on Booster 7 at the bottom. So that'll give you a good idea as well as we continue to progress with the fueling about how far along we are as we continue to count down to an approximate T0 of 8:18 a.m. Central Time, which is just about 18.5 minutes from now, which is still hard to believe.
Yeah, we are under 20 minutes of this attempt.
Right, I can't believe it.
How is this real?
We can't believe it.
It's so close.
Yeah, and along those lines, Crafty Geek with the $125 tip saying, sit/stand desk fund for Adrian. Excitement is palpable over audio. How does it feel that now we are T-minus 20-ish minutes away from what could be your first ever launch?
Yeah, I want to thank Das for ordering me a headset with an extra long cable. It is really needed so far. It gives me the mobility that is needed here. It's it's insane. I am so excited for this. I hope it goes. I hope it goes.
You're welcome, Adrian.
Thank you.
Again,
And-
Adrian, if this goes off, you are going to have the best first launch experience ever among anyone.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. How's it going? It looks like everything continues to tick along here, huh, y'all?
Yes, Das. Everything is continuing to go pretty well so far up to this point. Everything appears to be on time. The last that we've heard from SpaceX is that everything is proceeding as planned.
Excellent. We're up here monitoring everything that's going on. We still have all the cameras going. I know we keep switching around from all these fantastic shots, but y'all are doing great. I will not detract from all the thanks and all the commentary y'all are doing.
Well, we appreciate you jumping in and helping to keep all of the all the cameras and everything up and running so we can get it both for the people watching right now as well as the Red Team and Above members who can watch the multi-view with all the different cameras that we're cycling through. And also want to thank Spambot for their $100 super chat as well, saying "Go Starship." So appreciate that. As we continue to get into the count, we are now hearing from SpaceX that booster teams are working a pressurization issue at this point. Those are the only details that we have at the moment. Waiting to see if we get any more updates on that. So we are keeping an ear out and an eye out for that, and if that will affect our T0. But I do want to say in the meantime, as this is all getting super frosty and we have the full stack getting closer to liftoff, you too can own your version of a full stack in the form of a plushie. You have the ship and the booster full stack plushies that are available now at shop.nasaspaceflight.com. It's perfect to point out that they are Velcro together so you can separate them, and you'll be able to have your own separation of the ship and booster. You see all the engines on the bottom there. Again, shop.nasaspaceflight.com.
And we are getting another update from SpaceX
Yes.
that they just said that if the teams cannot resolve this issue with the booster, they will treat this as a wet dress rehearsal. But they are working a booster issue right now, and basically it sounds like they will go all the way through, and then if they solve it, they will go for it. If they don't solve it, this will be a WDR.
Yes, and a reminder that this window does continue until 9:30 a.m. Central Time, which is currently 8:04 a.m. Central Time. So they still have about an hour and a half to work this and any other issues that may continue to come up in the count. We are being told, though, that the orbital launch mount clamps and the quick disconnect are being configured for liftoff, which, Ian, I'll pass this to you. What are the OLM clamps and this QD that we're talking about?
Yeah, so first off, the OLM clamps are the things physically holding Starship and Super Heavy to the pad right now. So there are 20 different hold-down clamps around the inner edge of the orbital launch mount. Now, those are connected to the base of the Super Heavy booster, and they're holding up the weight of Starship and Super Heavy right now. Now, right at liftoff, those are going to disconnect and rapidly retract into the orbital launch mount to give the booster some clearance to get away. Now, these quick disconnects that they're talking about, those are the booster and ship quick disconnects. Now, the ship quick disconnect, you can see right at the bottom of the screen. That is supplying the ship with liquid methane and liquid oxygen right now. But right down there on the orbital launch mount itself, you can see the booster quick disconnect, and that is also doing the same for the booster, supplying it with liquid oxygen, liquid methane, electricity, some data relays, and things like that. Now, those right at liftoff are going to disconnect. The booster quick disconnect will retract into that hood you can see, and it'll shut, while the ship quick disconnect will, of course, disconnect from the ship and then rapidly swing away on the launch tower. So we're going to be looking for that right at liftoff. And that is where we're sitting right now.
Yes, as you mentioned, those will retract away from the vehicle, releasing essentially any connection to the ground support equipment and the ground systems, or as it's sometimes called, Stage 0, before hopefully lifting off and continuing on the trajectory of the scheduled flight. Which, while we're waiting here as they continue to work on a pressurization issue, now might be a good time to go over, if we do get to a T0 today, what is the expected flight plan for the rest of this vehicle? Ian, do you want to take that?
I was just looking at some things in the back channel real quick.
All right. Adrian, do you have a moment then? If you want, we can go over the look at what's expected after T0, which, again, we are waiting an official T0 time as they continue to work this pressurization issue.
Sure, we can go over the timeline. So basically, after the booster and the ship lift off, they will have reach max Q at about 55 seconds, which is the maximum mechanical stress on the rocket. At 2 minutes and 49 seconds, we will have booster main engine cutoff, hopefully, and stage separation. And then at 2 minutes and 57 seconds, we will have Starship ignition for a burn all the way over so they can get to Hawaii. That burn would last until 9 minutes and 20 seconds. And after 90 minutes, that's the plan, Starship would reach the Pacific Ocean.
Very good. We saw a little vent there coming out the side, evening out the pressurization within the tanks on board Booster 7, which you have the liquid oxygen and the liquid methane tanks that are being filled. A reminder, that is being filled on both the ship and the booster currently. You can see the levels based off of where that frost line is currently. Now, we talked about how the booster is going to be coming back and returning at some point. We did have a question that came in that was asking, there are grid fins on the vehicle that they kind of look like waffles, is the way I describe it, similar to what's used on Falcon 9 to help steer it, but why are they extended right now, and are they expected to fold? You can see them right there underneath Ship 24.
Yes, so those are not going to fold in. So the grid fins on Super Heavy, partially because they're so large and partially because they don't want the complications that would be added by folding them in, the grid fins are extended for the entire flight process. In fact, they're extended from the moment they're installed until the moment it lands. Now, that is because, of course, like I said, the grid fins are very large, they're very heavy, but the main thing is SpaceX is trying to simplify this vehicle as much as possible. Having folding grid fins is not only something that can break, but also that is just added mass, and you really don't want to have any unnecessary mass. So that, along with the fact that the grid fins are in the center of the vehicle, means they don't really have any aerodynamic effects during flight. So it really doesn't have any major effects on the vehicle anyway. So just losing a bit of complication, a bit of added mass, and that's why there's no folding grid fins.
All right, yes, good to note there. And we will expect to see that, hopefully, if it takes off. Again, at this very moment, we are currently awaiting SpaceX working to fix a pressurization issue at this point. We do not have exactly how long that is going to take or a new T0 yet. The window does extend until 9:30 a.m. Central Time, so another hour and 20 minutes from now. So there is still time to work on it and still time to fix it. We will continue to keep you updated as we get more details of the nature of the pressurization issue.
Well, for your awareness, now DOS does that.
Also important to note here is that we have heard from John Innsbrucker with SpaceX that if for some reason they are unable to resolve, they will count this as a wet dress rehearsal and go with all the rest of the procedures that they would go through a countdown, just basically without the final T0, without actually lifting off. So we will continue to watch and hope, though, that they will have time to resolve this within the window. Here's an interesting question that we've had a couple times. I do want to bring up again. If they're not targeting a specific orbit or a specific rendezvous point, why do we have a launch window? Why can't they go all day? Adrian?
Well, it takes effort and time to completely close a range. Basically, if they would be able to go all day, that would mean you have to clear the airspace here all day. That would mean you have to clear that marine path all day, not only here, but also in the Pacific. So you basically have a lot of implications on a lot of different areas. So there's probably a middle ground where they're like, you get this window, but we cannot just reserve this all for you for just 12 hours straight. And
we have official word.
We have an update, if I may have, we have a scrub.
Yes, according to SpaceX, the flight director has called a scrub on the liftoff portion of today's attempt, but again, they are going to proceed and continue this as a wet dress rehearsal. So that means they will continue with the countdown as if they were going to a T0, but there is not going to be a liftoff today.
Yep, no liftoff. They will just do a wet dress rehearsal. and then stop the clocks before the engines ignite. But they got close. They got close. So next time.
Right, and it is important to note that this is not a failure of any kind. This is not a bad thing. It's actually it can be a good thing. And if nothing else, it's definitely a learning experience, right, Ian?
Oh yeah, for sure. They just took, they got very far in the process. Now we of course have to wait and see how much of the propellant can they get, how big is the issue they had, how fast can this be fixed before they probably will confirm a new day where they target all of this. But they got close. It was only minutes away before they called the scrub here. And yeah, we will see how the week plans out from here on.
Yeah, I mean, for a first flight of a pretty much brand new rocket, I'd say this was a good first attempt. Of course, it's not the outcome that we're looking for, or we were hoping for, but teams are still getting a phenomenal amount of data on how the ground support worked, how the ship and booster system worked, of course, how their assets worked, of course, like the mission control, the Coast Guard, the FAA, the WB-57 all coming together for this. So it was a great, great test of everything, and I'm sure the next attempt is going to be even better.
Exactly. Up note, the launch license for this particular one had launch dates available of the 17th, 18th, and 19th. That does not mean that those are the next dates that they will take, so that does not mean that we have a guaranteed attempt on the 18th, and that doesn't rule out future launch dates, such as the highly anticipated 20th, which I know Elon has teased before. We are getting told from SpaceX that teams will hold and, again, as we mentioned, go for the scrub at T-minus 10 seconds, which is normal for a wet dress rehearsal. The only issue was a pressurization issue. So this will be a good way to test all of the rest of the procedures. And again, that is the update from SpaceX, that they're going to continue to test the rest of the procedures until T-minus 10 seconds, and that up to this point, the only issue they encountered was this pressurization issue. And we will also keep an ear out to see if there's any update on when we might get a new launch date, and that is all dependent as well on the exact nature of this pressurization issue, Right, there's a lot of factors that will go into determining this next date, correct?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh yeah, there are many things what can influence the next date. And just to point it out again, like they need this pressurization because there's usually like a certain pressure in a certain operating way, how you start up a rocket, how it works, how you feed the engines. And if that is not correct, you cannot go. It's a very minor thing in the end, but today it was the reason that Starship will not go to space.
Yes, and a reminder, even though we may not be launching right now, the test is ongoing. They will continue, we are told, to the T-minus 10 second mark. Normally they would hold at T-minus 40 seconds during the wet dress rehearsal. They are not going to do that today, so they will continue through to T-minus 10 seconds and scrub, which will likely be followed by detanking. So Ian, what would be the rest of the procedure if we were continuing to, what should we expect, I guess, until T-minus 10 seconds?
Yeah, so there's going to be a few things coming up. Basically, just getting the vehicle situated and ready for flight. So at 16 minutes, which we have passed already, we would begin the Raptor chill on the booster. That's likely underway right now as well. T-minus 40 seconds would be the next major milestone. That's when they begin to vent down all the fluids on board the vehicle. So final vents of the tanks, final vents of the GSE, get everything then sealed up and ready for flight. Coming down to T-minus 8 seconds, which will not happen today, they would have began starting up the Raptor engines. Now, this would be a staggered ignition, meaning they don't ignite all 33 at once, because that would be a very, very sudden acceleration and very sudden force on the base of the vehicle. So instead, they ignite the engines one at a time, several milliseconds apart. It's pretty tough to tell with your own eye. But so that'd be 8 seconds right before liftoff, they would begin igniting the engines. They will begin ramping up the full thrust ahead of liftoff, and if everything looked good on the vehicle, they would have lifted off at T0. But unfortunately, like we said, they are scrubbing for the day due to a pressurization issue on the vehicle. And we'll keep you all updated if we hear anything on future launch dates.
Yeah, as well as they continue on this test, we'll keep an ear out to see if any other potential issues may pop up. But again, regardless, they are not going to launch today. So in terms of emptying the vehicle, which right now we see that it is still very frosty and very full of these propellants. So it is still a very active vehicle right now. But what is the deal with detanking, and what is the deal as well in terms of the amount of fuel that they would be able to save and what they have as a backup for a future attempt? Adrian?
Sorry, there were people moving around here on the roof. Could you repeat that question for me quickly, please?
Sure. Well, right now the vehicle, of course, is cold and fueled still. Once that's done, what will the detank procedure look like, and can any of this fuel be saved?
They will try to save a lot of this fuel. That's why they have the recondenser mechanism. The recondenser is basically exactly that. It tries to recondense some of the big, too hot gases again into.
I'm sorry to interrupt for one quick second. I will let you finish that in just a second. We have a tweet from Elon saying a pressurant valve appears to be frozen. So unless it starts operating, no launch today. So it appears that a valve was frozen was the issue. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you there. Just wanted to give that update. As for the wet dress rehearsal portion, the booster propellant load is complete, and the ship propellant load is wrapping up as they top off the header tanks. Excuse me.
And that's a very good reason to interrupt me, because we need these updates. And again, it was a good attempt. And yes, they will try to save as much fuel as they possibly can, and because it's not easy to get fuel here. And once that is done, they then will probably perform one final big vent where they release all the gaseous part of, for example, the liquid oxygen, which is, there's like a part which you can no longer save. There's a part that is just, you need to let that out as gas. And once that is done, the vehicle will be depressurized and then probably repressurized with ambient pressure to have complete structural stability, and then it's completely safe.
So Adrian, hey, I got a question. How many tankers do they need to roll out there to replenish the tank farm, what they use today?
I know there's people that have the exact number, but if I remember correctly, it was about 120 tankers.
120 tankers.
Depending on the liquid.
Exactly what they did and what they reclaimed and stuff, yeah. Good grief. How are we looking, Sawyer?
As of right now, they are in the T-minus 40-second and holding mark of the wet dress rehearsal. Again, the launch portion of today appears to have been scrubbed, although the latest tweet from Elon Musk, again, saying a pressurant valve appears to be frozen, so unless it starts operating soon, no launch today. And they had originally stated they would not be holding at T-minus 40 seconds, but we are being told now from SpaceX that they are in a T-minus 40-second hold. So we are continuing to keep an eye on these latest updates that we are still getting. Again, the vehicle still fully frosty and almost fully fueled. We are now getting the update that we will hold here for a bit, according to SpaceX, and run to T-minus 10 seconds. So we will take this countdown to T-minus 10 seconds. Engine ignition is somewhere between T-minus 8 and 6 seconds, so we will not get to that point. Again, making this a wet dress rehearsal.
Did anybody say the line, Sawyer?
Which one? It's better to be...
Scrubs, not Ruds.
Yeah.
No, Sawyer's got it. Sawyer's got it.
It's better to be on the ground wishing you were in the air than in the air wishing you were on the ground.
Bingo. There we go.
It is a true statement, unfortunately. Fortunately, unfortunately.
Fortunately, unfortunately. I mean, everybody up here was so excited. Like, literally, Adrian was jumping around. It feels like a big letdown. I know everybody was so excited to see this thing go, but this is still progress for SpaceX. They've never launched this vehicle before. Look at the frost on the side. We've seen the frost on the side, but every time they do this, they learn about it. This isn't like, oh, we're going to spend 20 years before we ever try to launch it. SpaceX loves to get real data, and that's what they did today. Now, is the data going to say that somebody needs to go out there and bang on that valve with a hammer? Hopefully not. But SpaceX is going to turn this around into actionable information. And the next time we see this, maybe something else, but this rocket is going to go at some point.
Oh, we are excited for this rocket to go. And again, we will keep an ear out for any potential updates on when a T0 might be. And look at this view that we have here. This fantastic view on the top of the Margaritaville Hotel there, which, Das, I believe you're over there as well at the moment, right?
It is. We're all up here on the roof. We've been over here for weeks now, working with the hotel, installing a bunch of infrastructure, not just for this launch, but here to stay. We've got a lot of permanent things that we put over here to support everything that's happening at Starbase. But it really is like the reason we chose this hotel is because you can see Starbase, and it has a ton of rooms that are sort of the south-facing rooms. So if you want to come and see a launch, you can get a south-facing room. And we even have, like if you ask, there's a map of the rooms that can see Starbase. And most of the rooms above the 5th floor have a direct line of sight over to the launch pad. So anyways, it's Margaritaville Resort, South Padre Island. They just renovated it. Actually, there's some floors that aren't even done being renovated yet. Even if you get a room on the other side, and you can't see it, you're looking north, you can go down and hang out at the pool, and then when it's, T-minus 10 minutes, because you're listening to our stream, which we appreciate, you can walk over to the beach and you can see the rocket, the launch pad right at the beach. So anyways, one more time, do that exclamation point hotel in chat for the fine folks at Margaritaville, South Padre Island, the place where we are right now, literally. Probably the place you want to be too.
Exactly. Hosting our entire team there, as well as Michael's tracking rig, which you saw in the shot there. So all of that, thanks again to the people at the Margaritaville Hotel there. We have some more amazing support that has come in, even with the scrub here. We have Canch with the 100 Australian dollars saying, awesome coverage as always. Thank you, NSF. Been watching Starship since Starhopper. Go SpaceX, go Starship. We absolutely appreciate that. Mark Rented coming in here with a very specific $477 super chat here, which immensely generous, saying Godspeed Starship and thank you NSF for providing this indispensable service from the X7 finance community. Mark Renton, thank you again very much for the support. It really is appreciated, and it goes to helping us set up the infrastructure that we now have on top of the Margaritaville Hotel, to the people that we have now at the sites, to all of this content that we're able to bring you, including our multi-view of all of our different cameras that we have there for members that are Capcom and above. Thank you. That's how we are able to do this, is with support like that.
Sawyer,
yes.
You know we need to name the camera up here on the hotel, right?
Oh, yes, we do. You're
like
right.
A contest. We need some ideas in chat on what we could actually name the camera, because I can't say Margaritaville Resort South Padre Island camera every time we talk about the camera. We did like a Margaritaville themed camera name. Toss some ideas in chat for me. The marketing guy was over here like, yeah, something like that. I don't know if I want to call it the Jimmy Buffett cam.
No,
the
definitely
5 o'clock cam, the parrot cam, the somewhere cam. I don't know.
Ooh, somewhere cam.
Paradise cam for Cheeseburger in Paradise.
There you, or just the cheeseburger cam. I'm hungry right now.
Oh, I haven't had breakfast. Don't make me hungry.
I wonder if this, by the way, will now result in Elon getting his favorite day as the potential next day. I mean, it's not impossible. Just saying.
The day's coming up. I mean, it's there on the calendar. It's just right there to be launched on.
Also seeing Salted Rim Cam, by the way.
Oh, Salted Rim Cam. Interesting.
Couple more messages. Couple of messages of support here that I do want to hit before we continue on as well. Juan Lambers with the €50 super chat. Thank you very much for that. As we were talking about the pressure valve that's frozen, he's asking any ideas what might have caused that now and not during the last wet dress rehearsal. Any idea what that might be? What could have happened? Because when was the last wet dress rehearsal anyway, out of remembrance here?
Oh, it was about a month ago. I don't know the exact date, unless Adrian or Das does, but
not the exact date, but yeah, the thing is, the weather might be different, the temperature might be different, you might have a bit of different conditions, and that already can move things in a different direction during the countdown. And in the end, it only takes one valve. It only takes one little valve that doesn't work, or one thing that is slightly off. Because, yeah, if these things don't work, you are not going to space. You will probably lose your vehicle. So better safe than sorry.
I'm telling you, these hydrogen rockets are just so complicated. Wait, what?
Wait,
It's
hang
a
on, what?
methane rocket? Wait a second. You mean rockets are just complicated all around? Sorry, I had to.
It's not the fuel. It's the rocket.
It's not the fuel.
As much as we make fun of hydrolux, which is liquid hydrogen, liquid oxygen, which does tend to leak occasionally, we'll say, for example, on a big orange rocket, it is still rocket science. As much as we try and simplify it for you and bring it to all of you, it is not rocket science. It is rocket science.
It is
excuse
rocket
me.
science.
Yes.
But
So things can go wrong and do go wrong. And most importantly, though, we learn from it and we